Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am Hannah Casper, Waupun Area School District's family advocate. A few of my roles as family advocate is to help meet the needs of Waupun area students and families by connecting families to resources in order to obtain various needs such as food, clothing, medical, dental, and mental health resources, to name a few. I assist families facing homelessness and assist in improving student behavior and attendance. If your family has a need, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My contact information, along with today's presenter's contact information, is in the description below. This is the first of 3 mental health virtual community events this school year. So be sure to join us again on Tuesday, February 23rd at 6:00 p.m. as we discuss ways to manage student stress. And also Tuesday, March 9th at 6 p.m. as we will learn about the warning signs you can look for if you suspect your child may be using illegal substances. Tonight, we will be learning about the potential dangers of children using social media and how parents can monitor their child's online activities on school-issued devices. We are joined by Katie Eickelman, the District Media Specialist and Technology Integration Coach, and Kurt Miller, School Counselor at Rock River Intermediate School. Katie will start us off by teaching us how to operate Go Guardian Parent, which is an app that you can use to monitor your child's online activities on school-issued devices. So thank you, Katie, for starting us off.
Thank you, Hannah. First off, I will let you know that you will not see my face during this recording since I am going to be showing you my phone during this time. Go Guardian is a program that we use at the Waupun Area School District to monitor student use of their school-issued Chromebooks and school accounts. Teachers also use this program to monitor student activity during their class period and also have a little bit of control over their students. This program does run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so your students are all monitored at all times. However, recently we were able to get the Go Guardian Parent app enabled, which gives parents a much stronger control over student devices after school hours. So the first thing you need to do is go to your app store or however you get apps for your phone. You're going to search Go Guardian Parent, and it's just going to be a blue square with an upside down white triangle called Parent. Once you have that installed, your first step is going to be to enter your address, the one that you have on file with school, the one that you use when you registered your students. If you're not 100% sure what that is, your child's school secretary in the office should be able to tell you what that is. Once you enter your email, you have to verify your email. There's 2 ways you can do this. One is that you can open your email on the device that you're loading the app on and just hit verify email. If you don't have access to email on that device, there's a login with PIN option, and you would just open your email on a device accessible to email and find the PIN and log in that way. Once you are logged in, the first thing you're going to do is see a summary. This is an all-time summary, even during the school day, of what your student is doing. If you have more than one student, you can use the drop-down menu at the top to toggle between your students. The first thing you're going to look at is the top 5 websites your students are viewing. Now, I have it set to look at the last 30 days. However, you can look at just the last 7 days, you can look at the last day, or you can look at the last 2 weeks. So you have some options as how granular you would like to be. But you'll see a little pie chart with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the top 5 websites, and below is the key of what each of those means. You can also see their top 5 documents. You will not be able to access these documents unless the student has shared them with you, but most likely they have not, so you'll just be able to see what they're working on by title. You'll also be able to see their top 5 apps and extensions. On student devices, we have this locked down, so all apps and extensions are school appropriate already, so there's not much time you'll probably want to spend in this area. At the bottom of this summary screen, you'll also be able to see what teachers have done. Like I said, this gives teachers a little bit control during the day to your student Chromebook devices. You'll be able to see if a teacher locked your student's screen or if they closed a tab because they didn't want a student on a particular tab. So you'll be able to see any teacher interaction or intervention at the bottom of that screen. Way at the bottom, you have some other options. Next to summary is activity. What this is going to do is for that same time period, just for Friday, February 5th, I'm looking at, and Friday, January 29th, just for that same time period, what this is going to do is list all of the websites that your students are visiting. The wonderful thing about this for parents is that these are all linked. So if you're not sure what something is, clicking on the link will take you right to that website. Keep in mind, if it's a document that a student is working on, you will not have access to their document. If it says that it's mail, it will take you to Gmail, but it's not going to take you to your student email. But you'll be able to see, for the most part, what your students are spending time doing. The next two tabs are where parents are probably going to spend the most of their time and invest their energy. The first one is called filters. What this allows you to do is outside of the school day, it allows parents to block particular websites. So if there's a particular website that you do not want your student accessing, this will allow you to block it. When I say outside of school hours, that's from 3:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. You will not have control during school hours to block sites. That is up to the school and up to the teachers. But you will have access outside of the day. So simple, you just click add website and then hit create, and you have now effectively blocked your student from accessing that site. The next tab over is called time limits. What this does is allows parents to pause the ability for a student issued Chromebook to connect to the internet. Because a device is only essentially the internet or browsing, if you pause the internet connectivity, students will not be able to use their Chromebook to do anything. You can do it on demand, so you can just go in and pause, or you can add a schedule. So for example, if you want your student to be done using their Chromebook at 8 o'clock every night, you can add a schedule, and at 8 o'clock every night, your student will no longer be able to connect to the internet. The last one is settings. What this does, it just allows you to log out. So if you don't want to enter your email, if you need to enter your email again, it also allows you to learn more. So if you have any questions about that, that's there. A couple of pieces of information about Go Guardian is that this is set up for guardians only, as the name kind of dictates. You must be considered your student a guardian of your student in order for you to have access. If you're not sure if you're a guardian, please check out Infinite Campus. If you have access to everything, you are more than likely a guardian. If you're limited on what you can see, you're most likely not. You can also contact your child's school office, and they can tell you if you are a guardian or not. If you are not a guardian and you would like access, you still can have that done, except a guardian will have to reach out to the school office or our district registrar to fill out a form naming you as guardian. And then once that is done, we can get you set up with an account to reach a student. So this is most likely foster families or step families, things like that we run into this. So if you don't have access to your stepchild, please make sure that you are a guardian in order to have that access. If you have any questions about the program, please don't hesitate to reach out to Amanda Pattee at the high school or myself, Katie Eickelman, also at the high school. You can reach us by email or by phone, and we can help you out in any way. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Next, Kurt will be examining the hypersexualization of social media and how children's unmonitored use of social media can lead to child sex trafficking and rape culture. So thank you, Kurt.
All right, this is Kurt Miller. I am the counselor at Rock River Intermediate School. And I'm going to share with you as parents some of the things to look for that have to do with social media, with peer groups, and with the psychology of students that are out there on the internet and getting involved with things on the internet that are um, things you need to be aware of. So the topic of my PowerPoint is teen social media and sexting, a progressive view of steps that could lead to teenage sexting and the connection with child sex trafficking and the rape culture. Today, men and women in today's society, we're kind of put into boxes by social media and the stereotypes that come along with some of our social media. Through the use of this social media, people can easily feel flawed or imperfect as a person values appears to be correlated primarily to physical appearance. So, in a lot of your advertising, they show men and women that are more attractive, and the physical appearance of them is, I guess, what sells in advertising. But it also has a big effect on students and adults alike. Um, Risky behavior for acceptance. If a person feels that they are not good enough in these physical features that our media has portrayed as being, what people look at and see. And they can't compete in that physical type of living, it's easier to engage in certain more risky behaviors to feel more socially accepted. So when they get involved in these different, these different sexual things or immoral things or so on, they start to lose their morals and values. People may begin to put their bodies before their minds, money before their personalities, clothing and shoes and other material possessions over their own values and morals. So, they're trying to make up for what the media has portrayed as what a female should look like according to them and what a male should look like according to the media and TV shows and so on. So they're trying to make up for some of those shortcomings they feel. This includes such things as sending sexually explicit or nude photos and consenting to sexual activities to feel valued and accepted. This drives the person further away from who they really are. So they're really kind of compromising themselves as they try to fit in with the people that they want to hang around with. Popularity versus self-preservation. So, how far will these kids go to be popular and stay within their peer group? When a person's flaws and or lack of possessions are emphasized, it becomes very easy to influence that person's actions, to convince him or her to do something against their own values. What would you be willing to do to be popular? So when other kids put pressure on another student, another child, because of them not having the things that they do or not looking as good as they think they should, they're more likely to be influenced by peer pressure and are more willing to probably do things that are against what they believe are their values. And it's kind of like, keeping up with the Joneses. With so much pressure to live up to the expectations and comparisons amongst people, a culture of hyper masculinity and hyper femininity is created. Okay, and this is talked about, at proms, the dresses the girls buy, very competitive. You got to spend so much. This girl did it, I got to, with almost everything. So, it gets real competitive, and it gets very, mean sometimes also. Hypermasculinity is an exaggeration of male stereotypical behavior, such as an emphasis of physical strength, aggression, and sexuality. So the media, and when I talk about media, I'm talking about everything on the internet and all of your social media, your television, your radio, the music kids listen to. A lot of this really overemphasizes this hypermasculinity in males. Also overemphasizes much of the hyperfemininity, is also exaggerated. Adherence to feminine gender roles as it relates to heterosexual relationships. Success is determined by maintaining a romantic relationship with a man, and that their sexuality can be used to maintain that relationship. This goes into dress and sexuality in behavior and in vocalization or in conversation and so on. Sexuality is exaggerated in both of the cases. When it comes to peer pressure for a short period, a person feels as if he or she does fit in and is accepted, or gets an instant burst of attention that he or she wanted. These attention-seeking behaviors can develop into a pattern and cycle of behaviors that only begin to escalate until there are severe negative consequences. They kind of one up themselves, and to keep up with the Joneses or keep up with the peer group, they may have to take things further for others to pay attention to them. And meanwhile, the whole time they're compromising their values, they're compromising their morals, and they're doing this to fit in, to belong, to get attention. And that creates, a lot of fear, stereotypical expectations and pressure felt from trying to fulfill them generates one of the greatest driving forces of all times, primordial fear. Fear can make a person rationalize or accept just about anything. So these peer groups, put enough pressure on kids that they get fearful that they might not be part of that group, or they might not be accepted. So they're going to rationalize their sexual behavior or their sexual talk or their actions that they're taking to maintain that relationship with their peers. The beliefs created by fear suck the confidence right out of a person and leave him or her feeling completely vulnerable. As confidence dwindles, so does self-respect. Self-respect comes from seeing and valuing one's unique and remarkable qualities. So every human has unique and remarkable qualities. As these kids get further and further away from those values and they become more and more of what their peer groups value, they start to lose contact with who they are and what they really stand for, and they really do start to compromise their own morals and values. The only way to break free from this damaging thought process is to work on learning real respect, where we learn to value ourselves and others for truth, strengths, and qualities rather than preying on each other's weaknesses. So, getting your child to respect themselves and define their morals and values and what they want to believe in and what they don't believe in, and then taking those things and putting them on the top of their list. Hypersexualization of today's society and media influences. So, advertising inundates us with half-naked men and women. Radio song lyrics have many references to sexuality and sex. Television shows show one hookup line after another and then move the participants from kissing to sex in a few minutes. The kids watch these movies, they watch these commercials, they listen to these songs, they download songs. Listen to your kids' music sometime to see what kind of lyrics they are. Some of them you can't even tell what the lyrics are until you look at the sheet of paper to see what they're actually saying. But I think sometimes you'd be very surprised at what they're listening to and what's being promoted to them and what they think is attractive. Our media has become hypersexualized. Hypersexualization is sexuality that is inappropriately imposed on girls and boys through the media, marketing or products directed at them that encourage them to act in adult sexual ways. For a child, their frame of reference for relationships is negatively affected. Sex is so normalized that people are getting to know a person's body before his or her mind. So, the media is promoting, in some cases, less clothes. They're promoting some of these physical actions more than the talking, the getting to know somebody's personality, the getting to know somebody's likes and dislikes, and their values and morals before the physical part of the relationship. Thinking of the hypersexualized messages we are exposed to every day, like I mentioned before, movies, music, video games, I didn't mention that, but commercials, it is almost impossible for these messages not to have a direct impact on society and the decisions people make when it comes to sex or sexualized acts. Objectification is when a person is seen or viewed as a possession, a conquest, or an item, or even a number. How easy or common is it for people to abandon someone the second they no longer provide photos, attention, or engage in sexual acts? If something is objectified, you leave out emotions, you leave out personality, you leave out empathy and personal love, basically. And with all that stuff missing, it's easy just to jump from one person to another and skip out if they don't get what they want. And for some people, that hurts. Objectification is when a person is seen or viewed as a possession, a conquest or item, or even a number. People are becoming nothing more than sexual objects to be used and discarded. This opens the door for the rape culture to develop. It thrives in the absence of caring for or seeing each other as human beings. Okay, so they're looking at people as objects. People are walking around desensitized to these messages, and this leads to dismissing this type of behavior much easier. Hurting people and breaking up with them, maybe not even breaking up with them, maybe just leaving the relationship is much easier without an explanation and so on, because you're not considering the other person's emotions. Who is to blame? Not the victim of any sexual assault. Sex and porn can be seen and viewed on any computer, cell phone, or tablet. The average age of a child watching porn is 9 years old. After watching the sexually explicit material, a child's view of sex and toward men and women is distorted. Again, you're missing any of the emotions or the connections in people, in similarities or likes or dislikes and so on, morals and values. All that is kind of left out. Fantasy and reality begin to blend together, and often people begin to believe that a person is always willing or wanting to have sex. People start to see someone as a sexual object or a conquest. They are to give into sex because that is all they are good for, or sex is owed. That's what some of the people start to think of their girlfriend or boyfriend. Rebranding your self-worth, post it or ghost it. Social media has contributed to the boundaries of healthy relationships being further distorted. People could learn to become seamless. They lose their self-esteem or sense of self by altering the truth of who they are. A person can filter, dilute, crop, angle, rotate, frame, distort pictures. They can lie. They can put other people's pictures on there, actually. They will post whatever gets them the most attention, likes, or friends. They call these LPPs, or likes per post, becomes the goal of the pictures they post. And often, the more skin they show, produces more LPPs. So now you're starting to compromise yourself even further. People start to base their own self-worth on what others think. Okay, so you get these likes and you get 5,000. You start to base what you think you're worth on the number of likes you get rather than their own opinions of themselves. This is when ghosting begins to take place. This is when a person does not like comments or reactions, so they disappear. They they basically get rid of their Facebook or Instagram accounts. They delete them, and then they begin a new one up somewhere else with different information and so on. So they really kind of say goodbye without saying goodbye, only to create a new account. This teaches them that it is that easy to disconnect from one another without saying goodbye. It is easy for the people to lose sight of who they really are with all these likes and dislikes. And here's some diagrams of posting habits and then ghosting habits, I mean, in America, and females ghosting habits, male ghosting habits, and how often they do that. So, it's going on out there, and it's monitored and watched by a lot of different entities too. So something to keep in mind that it happens. So it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy through daily advertising, constantly telling the average person what is wrong with them and how they can improve in that area. Sets up a dilemma inside of themselves about who they are and what they should look like. And then peers emphasize that further to make them, try to make up with that with their actions instead. Some of these advertisements are incredibly slanted, and a very tiny percentage of people fall into these categories, or some of them even shame people. The girl with the sweatshirt on, and the shapes of people, to kind of make people feel bad that are not that perfect 1% model type. Here's some other ones that have definite sexual connotations in them. One, that save the whales. These advertisements, acne control. I should skip dessert, and it's a more full-bodied lady there. Even the sexual part of it in the ladies down here in the bottom with breast size and so on. So this all has an effect on your child and adults also. Offender-based trauma education. These are what pedophilia and the child sex traffickers have for tools on your child. One of them is grooming, an action by a pedophile of preparing a child for a meeting, especially via an internet chat room with the intent of committing a sexual offense. Grooming, is telling them how great they look and how wonderful they are, and just making everything sound glorified and going along with the values portrayed by some of our media and so on. They try to break down the child's boundaries, the lines that mark the limits of sexual or promiscuous behavior by saying this is okay, everybody does it, and those kind of things. Traffickers distort situations by framing them under more acceptable terms. Well, just think of this as a date, or think of this as somebody your age, or whatever. They try to distort that and kind of fool the child into thinking that, again, this is kind of normal. And again, our press and our social media, it tends to kind of fall in line with some of that. And then coping, how do you cope with this stuff? They give them, strategies of trafficking girls. You don't let your emotions come out. You repress those. Regulate emotional expression and thought. They train them how to do that. Creating opportunities within the constraints of what's going on, and relating it to cultural schemas. It's culturally accepted. It's culturally what people are doing nowadays, and so on. So, they try to make them feel comfortable and that it's okay to do these things. Blanket emotions, and this is something you want to promote in your child. You want them to talk about what makes them angry, what love is, what depression is, what anxiety is. You do not want to repress these four main feelings used to cover up all other feelings, because that's what the sex trafficking industry wants you to do. Shut them down emotionally. Being able to break down each feeling and allow a child to feel and process what he or she truly experiences is one of the healthiest coping methods. When not allowed to define what creates their blanket feeling, they often walk around numb. And again, that's what some of these traffickers want this child to feel like. When kids are never taught to think, feel, or process any of their true feelings, they walk around feeling depressed, anxious, angry, and unloved. And this all contributes to their vulnerability of being talked into certain things, to being convinced of certain things, and doing it without any of the emotions if you do not allow them to express them in a healthy manner and with some feedback from a healthy adult. A man by the name of Frank Outlaw once stated, watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions because they become habits. Watch your habits because that becomes character. And watch your character because it becomes your destiny. So it is what one decides to do with what that thought and how it is processed, rationalized, and accepted. And a good adult can help a child through that. And the greatest delusions, when a person knows something that they are doing is wrong and do it anyway, they somehow have to rationalize and accept this behavior. This is where a person deceives him or herself and begins to think that the behavior is not only okay, but it's not even wrong in the first place. So, this whole process of the social media, of the grooming of these kids, of them being depressed, of them not being able to express their emotions, all contribute, to them denying things that they know are wrong and not knowing what's morally right and wrong anymore. The feelings of guilt and shame go away. The behaviors become normalized and accepted. These beliefs soon become sexual harassment or assault without the person being able to see the behaviors as anything wrong. These beliefs and phrases people use to rationalize what they're doing are the greatest illusions and distortions that do end up getting them caught. So in the end, we're all kind of in this together, and you definitely want to monitor some things that your kids are involved with, and you definitely want to let them express themselves and do a lot of talking with them about their feelings and thoughts so you can develop healthy morals and values that will, keep them valuing themselves for who they are rather than what their peers or social media or likes or or any of these people that are trying to groom them for other sexual industries will influence them in their ways. So spend some time with your kids, listen to them, and actually share what you think is what right or wrong, and hopefully you're giving them the good morals and values that you want them to carry into the future too. So thank you. That's it. That's my presentation. And if you have any questions, I believe you can leave a message or write something back on Facebook or on the YouTube channel. Thanks.